So, as you may have guessed from the title on from the intro, this video will be about the MacBook Neo, and like, oh, this is the most repairable MacBook. No, it fucking isn't. There have been MacBooks that are way more repairable before this one. Like, this is low-key just blazing at this point. Don't get me wrong, it's a good device. It's a really good laptop in its price range, at least when it was released it was. Because back when it costed $600, $500 with the student discount. But like, I don't know why so many YouTubers were grazing it for it, because let's be honest, most people who are gonna buy it aren't students. They might be old people or very young kids. Soon, a pretty big chunk of students too, but not everyone. That's the point. The majority who's going to buy it won't be able to pay $500 for it. So, I don't know why they're constantly mentioning that discount, considering it's just like a cent, kinda. There are plenty of companies that do sales too, and though in different ways. Like, for example, Xiaomi does flash sales, and no reviewer really cares about those. They aren't part of the reviews. People don't give them the benefit of the doubt that, oh, they make a flash sale for a bad device anyway, right? So yeah, there's that thing. And another problem is people keep shitting on Nvidia for selling GPUs with only 8 GB of VRAM, when most games nowadays need 10 to 12. I would still go with 12 on 16 though to be safe. Anyways. So the same people that are shitting on Nvidia are praising the MacBook Neo, which has a whopping 8 GB of RAM, not VRAM, RAM. And it's that kind of unified memory as well, so like the GPU has to send it. Good luck even running Minecraft on that thing. It's still good for its price, don't get me wrong. I mean, other laptops in that price range may also not be able to run Minecraft very well, so yeah. But the problem I'm having is there are just way too many reviewers out here that are calling this the most repairable MacBook when it clearly is not. First of all, calling it the most repairable MacBook is kinda like calling it the prettiest pig. It's not that big of a compliment, you know, right? It's like saying it's the least crapped out Honda Civic at the car meet or some shit like that. So, yeah, that is annoying. Like, yay, Apple made the least stinky piece of shit. I mean, it's not a piece of shit, but still, it is in terms of reliability and repairability. Like, I'm telling you guys, that soldered memory won't last very long. That storage also won't last very long. Not that it's going to break, but it just won't be able to keep up with the software. It will get its updates, like, don't be afraid. Apple will ship macOS on its new versions of macOS on it somehow, which may be good. Like, this will force them to optimize macOS even more, which is exactly what they did with macOS 27. So, back to the point of the video. Then on these tech reviews, mostly the slightly smaller ones that are grazing it, right? And especially the ones dedicated to repairability, which I feel like is very weird, right? Why would the tech reviewers most experienced when it comes to repairing devices call this repairable? It's a good laptop, but it's not repairable. And also, another thing is, it does not punch above its class. Like, it definitely doesn't, considering Marques Brownlee, I think the biggest tech reviewer that has covered this, has literally compared it to Chromebooks, which is honestly kind of insane. Like, yeah, it is better than a Chromebook, which may have been done just to make it win. I have no idea, honestly. It could have just been done for that simple reason. But, anyways, rather than Marques Brownlee doing golfing baby versus hydros and bomb comparisons, we have the greatest technician that's ever lived saying it's the most repairable MacBook, which is fucking crazy. It's not. It's literally not. Did people all of a sudden just get fucking Alzheimer's and forget that Apple actually used to make some very repairable laptops that sometimes were actually more repairable than what Windows manufacturers were offering, really? And people just gonna forget old MacBooks that had a million ports on the side and you could plug literally anything in without needing a dongle? And people going to forget that? Because I don't, and guess what? I wasn't even alive back then. So how can someone who wasn't alive still know what Apple has done? And these people who very clearly were alive back then, unks by the way, not know this. Like, they definitely do. They're just trying to go with the common sentiment, right? Okay, this is good. And yeah, we also have fucking iFixit here giving this laptop a 6 out of 10, which I would say is a fair score. It's honestly very fair for what kind of laptop this is. Personally, I would give it a 5. But calling it the most repairable MacBook once again, and they just put that question mark to save the asses, like, oh, that, and asking us then, and not telling us, then asking, guys, it's fine, put your pitchforks down, then we're only asking you. iFixit, the guys who do repairability reviews don't know if this is the most repairable MacBook. What? This obviously sucks a lot, because it means Apple doesn't have to compete as much as other companies. And this hasn't just been the case with the MacBook Neo, it has been the case with iPhones as well. But when we first finished giving some honorable mentions, tech reviewers that talked too well of the MacBook Neo. Like, first is Marques Brownlee for comparing it with a fucking Chromebook. That's kind of dumb. Second is, like I said, silent experts. Third is iFixit, which honestly I'm very disappointed in them for saying that. This is fucking... This is a fucking blasphemy to the iFixit channel. How could they do this? How could they betray us like that? And then there are plenty of other reviewers that say it's really good, but when I'm comparing it with Chromebooks, which honestly makes no sense. Like, everyone is... Some people are even saying it's too cheap, which is insane. Like, Dave 2D said it's too cheap, when... Congratulations, Dave. Your wish is now reality. The MacBook Neo now costs $100 more. But at least it still has the student discount, right? Right? Because every tech reviewer kept mentioning it like it was the biggest deal in all of history, which I mean, it's a pretty good deal, but there are plenty of companies that do sales. Another thing is there are companies that do very good distribution, like for example Samsung. It has really good distribution, so you can get them phones. On Xiaomi actually has started to do better distribution for them phones, and this means you can buy the devices on MSRP instead of buying them for more from some resellers, right? And I'm not talking about the CD ones, I'm talking about the ones that you find on Amazon and other stores and stuff. I mean, when Apple, for some fucking reason, doesn't have this. I mean, at least not for other devices, as far as I know. Yeah. Like, for example, when it comes to smartphones, Xiaomi phones are actually really great deals here because of the distribution network. You can now buy straight from Xiaomi and then cheap. Then right at MSRP, which is also a really good price. I mean, the MacBook Neo is kind of, it's not a bad price, but it doesn't punch above its class ceiling. And that, now I'm talking about its launch price. The new price is just annoying as fuck. Like, I understand RAM's getting more expensive, but I would have understood if they didn't choose to provide only 8 gigabytes. And now I'm going to be talking about iPhones, because I know iPhones are basically Apple's money maker. They could just stop making MacBooks altogether and still be one of the highest valued companies just because of their iPhones, right? And also stuff like Apple TV Plus, I suppose, but it's mostly the iPhones, right? Wait, what? 3 more eyes? 3 more eyes? Crazy. What's this luck? Anyways, so for example, the iPhone 17 base model, you don't want to know how much every reviewer agrees that piece of shit for having a 120 Hz screen and a great processor, pretty good cameras. Like, do these people not understand? Android has had 120 Hz screens for so long. Like, you ship them way later when the next generation phones have already launched, which is also really shady practice. And people bought the iPhone 16 mostly for that. And though some people did buy it for the new colors, which is kind of stupid because you're gonna cover it with a case anyway. But yeah, basically, wait, this is TN3 though. Wait, what? I should have done TN2, whatever. So, the problem is just that Apple's gatekeeping features from the lower-end phones, despite them very obviously fitting in the budget. Like, you don't want to know how cheap and good screens have fucking gotten for phones. Like, because of phones having pretty small screens, you can just find already 2K, so basically Retina, at most sizes, unless your phone is actually a tablet, then it might not be Retina, but for like even 6.9-inch phones, I'm pretty sure it's Retina. So you get Retina OLEDs that also don't have burn-in. I haven't had problems with burn-in on my OLED phone. With 120 Hz refresh rates, or sometimes even higher, for so long now. Like, and Apple has only now started doing it, and then calling it promotion like it's some innovative thing. In fact, Apple didn't even invent a fucking smartphone. Some people would say the iPhone, the original iPhone was the first smartphone. No, it was the first iPhone. Some people will say the first smartphone was actually the Apple Newton, but I'm pretty sure there's some IBM smartphone that has come before. Yeah, the IBM Simon, the IBM. So, yeah, basically, the iPhone was not really Apple's. The smartphone was not really Apple's creation, and they might have made it better. But you know who made it better? The NZ Prada. The NZ Prada was the first smartphone with a capacitive touchscreen, and they released just about the time the iPhone released, so they were both in the making. So yeah, it's hard to even say if the iPhone was the first smartphone with a capacitive touchscreen, because like you don't know which one went in development first. And wait, let me check this out. NZ Prada. The NZ Prada released in 2007. No, 2006. Which was 1 year before the iPhone. I mean, not necessarily 1 year, probably less. So quite honestly, yeah, it wasn't even the first capacitive touchscreen smartphone. Apple just happened to popularize that idea. Because his biggest mistake was making a phone with Prada, a fashion company. Oh, that's pretty good. And now I'm the one who... So now I'm the one who's laughing and other people who went grazing Apple, because now Apple has raised prices. Like, you know how... And then every review, in every comment section, then when a bunch of Apple grazers were going like, Apple's RAM prices are the only normal ones. What? Crazy. Apple W and whatever. This is pretty annoying. Because basically everyone was saying the MacBook Neo was one of the most repairable MacBooks. This is a lie. They were grazing the iPhone 17 when it very clearly was just a pretty good deal. Not the best deal though. Like, genuinely. You could probably get a used Pro iPhone for less. You could get a new Android with very similar features for less. Like, you know, when Apple does something bad, people are like, oh, it's decent. When Apple does something decent, then like, oh, it's pretty good. And when Apple does something genuinely good, like the iPhone 17 and MacBook Neo, then like, Apple, the GOAT, Apple, the best one, yeah. I knew I made the right decision to lock myself in the Apple ecosystem forever. And I also want to understand with Samsung's fumbling so bad, like, then literally giving Apple on this monkey set. People say Apple software is some of the best, but they then forget about the Unreal iOS releases, which were very buggy. Like, you know, after iOS 7, when they changed up the whole interface and everyone hated it, when, yeah. They even they did a funny thing with iOS 11, which I'm pretty sure released at the same time as the iPhone 10, and was really buggy and pretty slow on the iPhones. So yeah, people just kind of forgot about that. If Android did it, they would have a complaint. And so some people graze Apple, like they treat them to different standards, which is pretty bad already. Some people just straight up say, yeah, the companies are better, but I'm not gonna buy them because I don't wanna get spied on by the think chongs. Which, first of all, I'm pretty sure that's kind of xenophobic. And if you're in the EU, the GDPR still applies on you, even if the company is from China. And even if you're in the United States, the United States laws still apply to that company when then operating in the US, right? So they cannot just put illegal stuff on their phones and sell it, right? And another thing is, who would you rather spy on you, like genuinely? Would you rather a foreign country spy on you when they really won't be able to go to the US and say, yeah, give me this motherfucker, I want to arrest him, I want to torture him and say, like, yeah, right, the US is not really gonna give you up, and saying I want this unless you really wanted, like, did some crazy crimes, committed some mass genocide in China or some shit. And even then, China won't be risking its foreign relations. Like, China cares a lot about its foreign relations. They won't risk them just for you making memes of them reading or whatever. You can do that just fine. They won't risk it for pirating some Chinese game. When would you rather get spied by your own government, which could at any point send people to a home because they know when you live and take you straight to jail? In fact, they could even kill yourself, if you get what I'm saying. They could assist you on suicide. Patriotism is just insane, even though the Chinese companies spy just as much, if not sometimes less than companies from, say, South Korea or even the US. This is just my rant, really. It's my opinion, but I hate how many people are grazing Apple and holding them to different standards, saying it's better to get spied on by your own government, which can at any point arrest you or even kill you, than a foreign government that can't do shit. The information they have on you. They can show you ads, but you can just use an ad blocker. And by the way, you should use an ad blocker. So, Apple's price increases, I would say, on end devices, I would say, were unjustified as fuck, because then stuff is really not, because that stuff is, I would say, really not not the cheapest. So then RAM options, then RAM up and storage upgrades were always expensive. It's like someone at Apple predicted this shit. Then upgrades, so because those upgrades were always expensive, I don't understand why they made their devices even more expensive. Remember when Apple said 8 gigabytes on a MacBook is the same as 16 gigs on a Windows laptop? And everyone made fun of them when, yeah, now Apple's plan worked. When soon on be owning MacBook Neos with 8 gigabytes of RAM and very little storage, keep on data very safe and securely in iCloud. We're going to be playing games on Z phones now because Nvidia has driven up the RAM prices like there's no fucking tomorrow. Instead of seeing a movie on TV, we're going to go on one of the millions of streaming services, and we won't be able to find what we wanted because streaming services only even have one or two shows or movies that people actually want to watch, and everything else is just filler. Like, a show is going to be on one streaming service and another is going to be on another streaming service, and it's annoying because now you have to constantly subscribe and unsubscribe from streaming services just to watch what you want. Like, most times out of 10 competition is good, but streaming services were not about convenience, and now there's no convenience and the prices are high, so who is it even good for? Good for the companies? Yeah, maybe. Good for the people? Definitely not. And obviously Apple has had to get their stinky written grubby hands in this cancerous industry as well. They have Apple TV Plus. Because of course they do. And Formula 1 is only ever on Apple TV Plus, and sometimes in some countries also on some local streaming service as well, so you have to pay for it. Isn't it lovely? So this was my rant. Don't hate this, is just my opinion. If you don't like it, go deal with it on something. No, I'm dying, bro.